Okay, let's see how far we can get today. Would love to get all of the words translated at least. And we are starting with and. And is a conjunction. Like a lot of words in Hebrew, and is a prefix. I am wondering if we get we get basically no information for and. Just a simple vav in Hebrew, when you come down to it, it can have a lot of meanings. It can be and, it can be or, it can be thus, it can be but. And we don't really have a Strong's entry for it. So we are going to prefix that with a double dash to indicate that we are making this one up as we go along. If this were a Hebrew grammar class, I would be talking about all the different ways that the vav can change form when you're using it in different contexts. Depending on the first letter, sometimes it'll take the vowel form, or it'll take the consonant form. Ubit versus vadzir. But seeing as that is not what we're doing, we're not going to go into all that. Root of one meaning. Let's see, we don't have a Hebrew conjunction yet. Ooh, we do have a Hebrew particle. Do we want to make a special place for Hebrew conjunctions? I'm going to say no. Particle is one of those all-encompassing kind of things. Probably if you're doing a more comprehensive, useful translation, you'll probably want to do a conjunction and it'll have just the same form as a particle, but because I'm trying to keep things simple, I am going to keep things simple. Alright. On to zero. Let's see. masculine noun, I think. Let me double check that. Masculine noun. And we have ambassador, paying, messenger, ambassador, paying, messenger, pain, hinge, sorrow. You know, before I do this, I want to check some of these. Pang and pain. For your pain came upon her. Ambassador. You know, this is one of those things where languages are weird, and English is no better, right? But you can really see Pharaoh's daughter-in-law, her pains came upon her. So, I mean, there's no way that's anything like they sent ambassadors by the sea. This is a word that really does have that range. And it seems weird. It's not a very common word. But you gotta be ready for things like that to be the way they are. Let's see. Hebrew. Noun, common, masculine, singular construct? No, that is not it. Parts of speech. Hebrew. Noun, common, masculine, absolute. Well, let's double check that because we're a double checking kind of people. Masculine, singular, absolute. There we go. Have we done that one already? Bait? Looks like we do not. So here's one. I I could have made the decision to have the bait be without the doggish. And why didn't I? Because I made that decision. And then we already have something that it is exactly the same as up above. I already decided not to do any kind of definition of. So let's see if this gives us any insight. Onto the bait. I don't think it does. No. Oh, it does tell us one thing worth noting, though. I marked this. Oh, I did mark this correctly. Never mind. I will talk about that in just a moment then. In with on we'll say that's good enough for now. Preposition. Now, if we come in here and we look, I have got the definite article in here. But when you look at bagoim, you don't see an extra hey. As with so many things that I've said, this is a matter of decision. Grammatically, with a vowel point, there is no question that the Masoretes saw a definite article in there. The definite article gets absorbed by an inseparable preposition sometimes, unless it doesn't. We'll get to that eventually, I'm sure. But there's no doubt that the Masoretes saw the definite article here, but there's also no doubt that the definite article isn't its own distinct letter there. It is just a vowel point change. And even the way that vowel point changes is subject to some level of interpretation. Sometimes when you're doing a vowel point, when you're doing the vowel points on a pointed text, sometimes you do a patah. Usually you do a patah, and then sometimes you do a comets because you're lengthening the vowel, and it has to do with the fact that the next letter can't take the doggish. I want to be able to say yes, that that is in there, and there is no doubt about it. But even if you look here, they mark a preposition with a definite article as another like type of speech instead of being a preposition and then a definite article. And it is a decision that a person has to make. I am making it one way. Obviously, they made it the other way. In Hebrew, there is no indefinite article. There is no version of a ambassador. Ah, now we're going to have some fun. Goyim. The root entry for Goyim is Goy. Masculine. And what do we have for our Goy? Nation, heathen, Gentiles, people. Nation, heathen, Gentile, people. Make sure none of these. None of those were weird. Okay. And I don't think I've done any Hebrew noun. Nope, I haven't done anything plural yet. So we come here and we say Hebrew noun, common, masculine, plural, absolute. And that will use $2, the second entry. And you'll see it can be nations, or heathens, or Gentiles, or peoples. We are just running through the easy way first. Shulach, sent. Root entry, Shalach. Oh, and then we're going to have to actually show some of the power of our constructor. Let's see, what do we got? Send. Go. Fourth. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do that. Lay. Put. Cast. Put. Cast. Depart. Now we're going to go through each of these. You go, you send. It went, it sent. It was gone, it was sent. That's the same, so we don't need to do it different. It goes, it sends, sending, sendest. Go is actually our example word. Lay, 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 lays, laying, cast, I will cast, I did cast. Those look pretty good so far. Oh, I forgot to grab. Strong's definition of GUI. As with so many things, there is a decision to be made. This is the Pual. I did the verb before. So the pual is kind of a passive form of the verb. And so I could take some of these out by separating out the pual version of a verb. And I am going to do that. That does mean that I end up having two entries, or multiple entries, I should say, for each verb. Verb pual. But I can be a little, you know what, I'm not going to. And that means I don't need to specify here that it's a cow. I can just say it's a verb. And then I'm making that decision here. And that can be is $2, was $2, will be $2, just $2, in any case, this is masculine singular. So we're going to add masculine marker. There we go. Cool. Coom is a real common one. It's a, get up, stand up, you know, you go from anything from laying on the ground to standing on your feet. It's kind of an energetic bird. It's also get going, you know, uh, be established, be firm, be immovable, you know, well, it's an energetic term, but it can also be an energetic stopping term, as well as a energetic starting term. It's just, be who and where you are. Um, Stand is kind of the basic meaning. Arise, arose, arisen. That sounds right. Arises, arising. Those are right. Raise. Arose. Risen. Establish. Ooh, perform. That's a perform, confirm, and set. Yeah. Let's see. Perform, confirm, set. Then the rest of these are kind of sort of poetic uses. It is one of those words. It's kind of a Smurf word. It's one of those words that when you hear it, when you see it, it's more about the feeling than the specific thing. When the Smurfs say "Smurf me a," Smurf up. Okay, stand up. It's kind of that kind of verb. Um, what does our strong definition say? Our strong definition says, yeah, you figure it out. Even Jimmy Strong said, yeah, it's just kind of a Smurf word. And verb cal imperative. Do it or die. Not really. Unless, it's the king. Masculine plural imperative. Oh, wait, no. Two masculine markers because it's plural. And then we'll think we might just make it to the end of the verse. Now we've got another vav for an and you'll see we've already done all that, and so it just ports right over. Same word. Again, we're going to be able to replicate some of our work. Only now it's cohortive. Which is first person, so it's not gendered. Let us $1. We might finish this verse today. Preposition. Preposition. This one is separable, so we don't need to say it's an inseparable preposition. So properly the same as the previous Strong's number. And so this is one of those, we kind of got to, like I always say, we got to make a decision. Jimmy marked these out as two separate words, and 5 will get you 10. Every dictionary everywhere has followed that decision, and Jimmy didn't even make it on his own. He probably is following old conventions somewhere that al, spelled and pronounced exactly this way, is sometimes a preposition and is sometimes an adverb that mean pretty much the same thing. Above, high, on high versus on, upon, whatever. I'm not exactly crossing that road now, but I'm kind of making a decision up front that I don't think I'm going to make that big of a difference on it. Upon, in, over, by, for, both, beyond, through, throughout, high. And then grab all that. One of those things where I'm kind of split, you know, I don't like to make those decisions on my own. I don't like to go against other people. On the other hand, it just makes life complicated. Um, and like, I mean, we have situations like this in English, and we generally don't think about them as separate words. I don't, you know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but you know, in our day-to-day life, we don't think of them as separate words, um, especially when the preposition meaning and the adverb meaning are so close and so intertwined. Um, I may get to the place where I'm there, and I may go, how stupid was I being back when I added high to the end of that meaning, and take it out, and but for now, Hebrew preposition. Oh, except it's not just a preposition. Have I had one so far that is a preposition? With a pronominal suffix. I have not. So, Hebrew preposition. Singular. Pronominal suffix. Ooh, I have set the pronominal suffixes separately. What have I got here? Nope, we're going to do this. $sign 1. her upon it. Because sometimes suffix. There we go. We are going to get all these words in. Ooh, that's not right. Milka is not. Morphine. Morphine. We have ourselves we're going to bring up our handy character map. Sort this out. It gives us a little more precision. There we go. To the war. Roots. Now we come over to translation. And we see we need to add 2 more rows. There we go. This one we can pretty much bring in from before. This one we can pretty much bring in from before. And this one is our last word. And that's pretty much where we're going to end for today. A little talk about war. Milchama is a fascinating word in Hebrew, worthy of a couple of minutes of talk. It's a feminine word, isn't it? Hebrew, noun, common, feminine, singular, absolute. Noun, common, feminine, singular, absolutes. Milchama. And then or fight. Fighting. What else have they got? Battle. What I forgot to. And I need to do that with nation and ambassador. Let's back up. Nation, ambassador, the rest is not. Ambassador, paying. Ambassador, messenger, paying, hinge. Pain. Alright. Then let's get them. And nation. Nation, heathen, Gentile people. Nation. Heathen, Gentile people. Alright, just before I sign off, we're going to talk a little bit about war. not war, but the word milchama. Uh, there is a folk etymology for milchama. Uh, the verb that it is based on is laham, which just means to fight. You know, it's just the verb form of a war. Um, but it sounds and looks and is spelled remarkably like lechem, like Bethlehem, as in house of bread. The folk understanding is that before people could make bread, they didn't have the time and the energy to go to war with each other. They spent all of their time uh, like growing food. And so if somebody showed up to take your food, you would have to defend it, but you didn't have to defend it real hard, because if they fought hard enough to take your food, then they were probably starving. But once you could take some wheat and grind it up and fold it into a loaf, and then uh, put that in an oven and have it rise and go from, a little tiny thing of grain to a loaf of grain in a couple of days, then it changed the economy of the world. And all of a sudden, if your neighbor had bread, it was worth going to war and trying to take their bread. Uh, how much of this is true? Well, it's really hard to say for sure. In some ways, some of it does seem to be true when we look at the archaeological record, and as we've gotten to know people who are still living a more primitive way of life. The idea of a prolonged war with your neighbors doesn't make a lot of sense when you've got to put 99% of your active workforce into making this year's food, when it takes 99 calories to make 100 calories, then you don't have time to do anything except grow food and sleep. And so I don't know. It's a weird kind of, you know, and this entomology, this folk entomology, goes way back. It's something that's been going on for a long time in Hebrew way of thought. So it could be that it actually comes from some kind of ancient memory. So we have gotten to the end of the first verse of Obadiah. We have a translation for every word. But there's more to translating than translating every word. I've said many times, translations are not ciphers. Languages are not ciphers. You can't just translate a word. We're going to get this. This is punctuation. And it does a period. It does not have a dictionary entry. Everything needs to have an entry for everything to work. Hebrew punctuation. There's there's only one of them. There we go. We have an entry for everything, and everything has an entry. So tomorrow, we will be able to go, or next month, might be tomorrow for me, but it'll be next month for you all. We will go through these, and we will make it make sense. Thank you for joining me on this journey so far. We are almost through one verse after 3 months. But as you can see, things go faster as you get further. You got more and more things that are already predefined. Go away. So, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to doing more of this for you with you next month.